So struggling for a topic today. I just had a ton of work downstairs. I built 2 hours on a spreadsheet to try to automate and systematize our ordering process. It's something that I've been struggling to get right and get down for since I've been running Wild Foods. It's crazy that I'm spending so much time on it and we still don't have it down. Cash flow has been an issue, but also just understanding the numbers and where things are going and having a system so that when products are low or soon to be out of stock, I can order preemptively so that I don't stock out. And this is a constant product issue in managing physical products. It's a huge thing. And you'd think there would be all these amazing software solutions. And there are some good software solutions. There are also some that I haven't tried that are literally like $1,000 a month and I'm just not willing to pay that right now. I might need to actually justify it if I can find the right thing actually, because we tried a software that was $300-400 and it's just not performing. We're probably going to cancel it. We wasted a ton of time and energy and procedures and all this crap. I could be stuck on that software. I could have sunken cost fallacy, which is basically like I'm committed to that software because I've spent so much time and money on it. But that's thinking about the past. And what I'm focused on is the future. So if I can find something that is fresh, that can do what I need to do, that will cost more money or more time to implement, well, it's going to be better in the long run, so I'm going to do that. Now, I was thinking about what it takes to build something and the idea of seeing this final thing, right? You see this final product, and a lot of people you see a final car or buildings or whatever, and we might see some of the parts of what go into that. Like there's a building being built right now, actually, and we see them working on it every single day. But most people take for granted the thousands, or actually I would say millions upon millions of tiny actions that go into all the components to creating something. And that could be your business or your brand or building a social media following, like thousands and thousands, eventually millions of little actions like editing a photo, changing the color, commenting, deleting that negative comment, checking daily, right? Swiping, liking, all these things that you do that go into the success of something, that go into the components of something. These are basically parts of the recipe that go to creating something. So for this product, I just want to kind of showcase what that actually looks like. So this has a label on it, okay? Now we used to hand label these. Actually with Cole, we never hand labeled. We still have some products we hand labeled, but it basically involves getting a file, a PDF file from my designer, her sending that to me, and let's just go from the beginning, like from idea. I say, okay, this is what I'm thinking, and I try to sketch out or wireframe or use Photoshop to like get a very basic bare bones of what I want the label to look like. If there's other products that I like or other bottles, I'll send her that. And I say, this is what I'm thinking. She goes and she works in Illustrator for a few hours, whatever, and she spits out a label file. It's basically a mock-up. I then say, okay, change this, change that, whatever, back and forth. We go back and forth until we decide on a final product. Now, to the point, because I've learned Illustrator doing this with so many labels over the years and kind of teaching myself Illustrator, I can actually make a lot of these changes without having to go back and forth with her. But in the beginning, when I didn't know how to use Illustrator at all, I had to ask her for every possible little tweak. She had to do it, and then she had to give me a final file. So it was a lot of back and forth. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of input. It was a lot of updates. And really every point since then, and even now to this day, anytime we do another label order, if there's something that I can change on the label to make it better, I do that. Now, I'm fortunate now that I can do it myself, so I don't have to bother her as much with it, but I still have her take new products that are kind of going from idea to putting something down. I have her do that because I can't do that. I'm good at tweaking things once I see them, right? So with this, I've tweaked and moved the placement around of the text. I've tried different fonts here. I've tried different fonts, on the back. Let's see, what can we get in focus here? So I'll step out of the frame. There we go. Different placements of this. The wild graphic here, that was something that we had on a different, it was a shirt and then a flyer, and we had the idea to put it onto a label. So I sent her that and said, can you put it in between the label, right, to make this cool design? And this is now the standard design we have for all of our products. So this was, and constantly is, a work in progress. Thousands and thousands of tiny changes and tweaks and inputs go into making something like this. That is just on the label level. Then the bottle, those have to get ordered. Those have to go to a manufacturer, right? We have our co-packer that bottles and encapsulates these. The coal itself has to come from small farmers, which is made from organic coconut shells. Those have to be burned down and to create this fine powder. That has to then be filtered and sifted and whatever and quality controlled. And then that has to be run through an encapsulation machine, which puts them into these little capsules. Then those have to be dumped into this bottle. Then this has to go to a machine and get labeled like that. They kind of like run through it and the label gets stuck on. Then this heat shrink, right, machine goes down and that gets heat it, and then it does that, right? And then on the inside, there's a safety seal. It is actually insane, the amount of moving parts. And there's a lot of ways I could take this video, a lot of analogies or ideas, but I want you to just think about a concept that I refer to often. It's the concept of Kaizen. It was made popular by the Toyota lean manufacturing because it's the idea that anytime we can improve something, we take action to improve that. And so Kaizen in Japanese basically means constant improvement. And it might have a more literal translation, but it means like always improving. And it might even mean kind of from a philosophy point of view, as I've thought about it, is not only constantly improving, but not taking the easy way out of just good enough. Because a lot of times just good enough, well, it's just good enough. If you're chugging along and things are just good enough, you may not always want to innovate or add or whatever, right? These labels are good enough. In fact, this is like the newest version, so right now I'm happy with it. But in a couple months, if I look at it again and I see something I can update, well, I'm gonna go do that. And that might mean some of my older labels get basically tossed, right? Because I now have the new version. Becoming obsessed with Kaizen in your business, your product, your life, your marketing, whatever it happens to be, even your relationships, don't just fall into the trap of good enough. Constantly find more and better and improve. And when you get that Kaizen mindset, it really is how you stay ahead of the curve, because most people fall into the just good enough mindset and they're just chugging along doing the same thing that kind of gets them by. But as we've seen, if you look at like the business, if you look at products, if you look at innovation, and you look at how things basically become obsolete because everyone's innovating. If you're like a computer manufacturer and you just good enough is your business philosophy, you're going to be just out of business in a few years, because everybody else that is focused on excellence, the Apples of the world, or even now Microsoft to an extent, or Google, whatever, are going to out innovate you, and the customers are going to go to those companies that are doing that. It's true in anything. Generally, the law of inertia and regression to the mean, right? Like inertia is something that kind of stands still, and without putting force to it, you tend to stand still. Regression to the mean is you tend to default to your lowest level or lowest common denominator. Well, to fight both inertia and regression to the mean, you have to constantly be seeking more, because by seeking more, you not only stay ahead of the curve, you stay ahead of the curve, and you stay ahead of people around you, and you stay ahead of a competition, and you stay ahead of basically getting left behind or forgotten or whatever. A lot of ideas here, a lot of concepts for everyday life. I love this freaking camera. I'm like excited to watch this footage. Hopefully the audio is working. Hopefully the mic's working. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Like and subscribe.